Yallat namrima Yallai jihannam Yallat.
So today we're here really to try and explore cross-cultural parenting. How do we explore our own ideas of parenting? How do we experience parenting? How does our parenting change across cultures, change with acculturation or an enculturation, and I'll talk a little bit about these things. But most importantly, how do we express our love and affection to our children? How are those expressions different, and how do we celebrate those expressions?
My situation is very different. In my culture, when the baby born, they get a celebration, they get a party, they invite other people to come and they bring gift for the baby. But there, I don't have anyone.
And then there's also a lot of studies that I've read, about the whole thing of agency. So parents lose their agency when they migrate, and they lose their confidence on their own parenting styles. And for refugees who've lived in so many countries, they don't really think what they're doing is right. There's that whole notion of how people have lost confidence in what they're doing.
I was born in another country, not my homeland country. My family also was Islam seeker. They had this situation also. I remember, when I think about my mother now, I can feel her better. Just this. I want to say thank you, Mom.
Acculturation is when two groups come into contact, long-term contact with each other, and they actually have changes. Each changes the other. In the pedagogic model, there's lack of co-sleeping, you're very tolerant of other separations from your baby, there's an increased emphasis on verbal interaction, there's a decreased emphasis on physical contact. I think you guys from Africa particularly want to understand that.
And when I arrive in Australia, I pass on the culture to my children to respect elderly people and to be a good listener.
Because you never know, as our people say, you never know what will come after. So you have to be respectful, and you stay respectful, you give to everyone.
And I advise them to look at the good culture, take the good out of the bad and leave the bad out there. You go like,
The child-centered, on the other hand, there's a lot of co-sleeping, a lot of close contact, breastfeeding on demand, rapid response to crying, lots of physical connection, but not a lot of verbal interaction.
When I came here, I find it very difficult to communicate with them because in my culture, it's very hard to communicate with your children. My parents never give me the opportunity to communicate openly with them. Yeah, baby, and sometimes we put them on our back, we walk around, we tie them with a lapper, and we start singing for them. And the baby will rest their head on your back and listen to that song, and they will sleep.
Not this age, like when they are growing up, like I talk to them about our culture because all my kids, I had them here. So they never been back home yet, so they don't know anything about my culture back home, but I always teach them. Like I play it for them in the Sierra Leone movie to show them like in the village how we do the cooking, how we do the shopping, how we go and fetch firewood in the bush to come and cook. I play those movies for them to watch and know where I come from. I teach them songs as well in my language. Baby left for cry now, mama de come. Papa de camo.
Means like if the baby is crying, please stop crying. Mommy is coming, daddy is coming, please stop crying. Your parents are coming.
The thing is, we have various states in India. They all differ in their culture, their languages. They have their own essence.
We have some rituals in Hindu. We have rituals of we call it as mundan. That's shaving the hair and ear piercing. And they say that tonsuring the hair, like mundan is for good health for the babies, and ear piercing is good for the nerves. So this is a belief.
In that, for a baby shower, we invite a lot of our relatives and friends. They do come to our place. We are dressed in nice, sari, or might be a pure silk or something which is really pure in itself. And then we decorate that mum with the flowers in her hands, garland in her neck, something nice on her hair. She looks more beautiful. That's the thing for her to feel special, that she is a very special person today. And then all other women, they offer a coconut and stopping all the evil powers, because the coconut is a very sacred fruit. It's a fruit of Lord Ganesha. So it's regarded as a very sacred, and that's the sign that all evil powers will be far away. They will not come to touch the baby at any cost.
So we have a function called Vijayadasami. That day what we do is we just put rice in front of the god. We just put rice in a plate and ask the little one to write in that one. So like might be A, something like that. So it's like start of his education.
Lots of different things, and of course today we live in a very multicultural world. So how you define yourself is really important. So I prefer to look at cultural identity as a way of describing myself, because rather than calling myself from my nationality, which is Australian actually, which doesn't describe me at all, I'd rather describe myself in terms of my cultural identity.
My son is the only child in our family. So all the time I was, worried about, he's not experiencing part of our culture. I'm Buddhist background, but my husband is Catholic, so he is baptized. We used to go to Buddhist temple more than the church. So he go to meditation and stuff. So all the time he used to tell him, most important thing is you learn how to respect other people and being a good person in this society.
When I walk in the road, he said, remove your shoes, So I have to walk with the barefoot, and we walk and I get all this scratch and everything, but he said that's a respect to the land. So they taught us to love the nature in a very young age, which I didn't think about it now. But now when I grow older, I see all that connection to life and link to life. When I have tough times or difficulty or challenges, that's how I heal myself, with the nature and the spiritual music and things.
Groups who have had to struggle for their identity in their own, they've struggled, they've left because of war and trauma, but particularly because of their identity, they're much more likely to hold on very dearly to things that are part of who they are. So I think they'll hold on very strongly to ritual.
We cook and bring food to you. That happens, and it normally goes on for that 40 days. They don't come and live with you or stay with you, but they will still bring food. Family members are busy, they have to work to maintain their homes, so we cannot practice that.
My dad at the time was in the capital city in Kabul because there was too many fighting was going on in the war and bombing, and so he had to send me to central Afghanistan, which was quite peaceful as it is right now as well. And then from there, when we moved to Pakistan, the same thing happened. So it's the experience of my parents when they brought up me and my other sibling was, from what I remember, it's keep sacrificing themselves. It came by birth, and it's quite extremely dangerous journey. So for him to take the risk is because of us, not just because of himself. So that's an example of how he sacrificed himself for us.
So if you were to ask me or ask someone else, now what your child is grown up in Australia, how would they do psychologically if they were culturally separate, like they stuck to their own group, versus being bicultural or being very much like mainstream? Absolutely. Absolutely, wonderful. Younger kids, really, they're very happy to be Aussies. Absolutely right. Some of them will be good with both. And of course, then there are some, and they're the ones who we really feel sorry for. They're the ones who are marginalized. They don't feel comfortable in their own group. They don't feel comfortable in mainstream. They move between the two.
Well, I am in kind of transitioning between two cultures. But for my dad, it's different. And the children that are growing up in here, it's quite different. They want different, something like they want to be more Australian-wide kind of culture, but the parents are Afghan culture. And they want to show that, okay, I work full-time or I work 6 to 7 days a week, raise money for you to have best education. But on the other hand, the children want that. I want you to give time to family, time to give with me, to play with me, to go out with me. And that's where it's kind of creating a conflict or a distance between the parents and the children. It's how it's the intergeneration conflict is coming. It's different to culture. In many cultures, people show their love through words. I love you, my son, I love you, my daughter, and which is quite right, and it's how it should be, especially living in this society. But in many cultures, it's different how people express their love towards their children or towards their loved one. From us, as I just mentioned before, they're showing their love is through their sacrifice that they make.
When armed people kidnapped my husband in Iraq since 2007, and they sent us a treaty letters to let us enforce us to leave our house and to go to another place. Well, I just want to say that this book, Old, it is belonged to my elder daughter. So I bring it with me. I bring it with me from Iraq to Syria, and this book stayed in Syria nearly 8 years. The waiting.
This book is way older than me, and it means a lot because it's not only something from my sister. This book taught me how to build a really strong relationship with memories and with my sister.
I came here to Australia. I also threw many things at Syria, but it is a precious thing I bring.
I feel it's a member of our family. It's not just a book. Because it traveled, it stays with us, even shared our sadness and happy moments. Like, this book is not only a book, this is more.
What are some other ways?
Okay, just not to be the saying, only the saying is not enough. Actually, I showed them that I love them truly, because I throw myself in the sea, in Black Sea, to get to Australia so they can have safer and better life. When I left Afghanistan, I had Nawid, and he was only 10 months old.
To be honest, when I was 4 years old, or 5 or 3, I don't remember, my dad came over for a visit, yeah? My mom gave me a flower on my hand and said, go and give it to him, like, who is he? My mom told me, he's my dad. I didn't know who he was, I was confused. I gave the flower to him, and a little bit later, I knew that he's my dad and she's my mom. And before that, I only knew that, I only thought that we had one parent as humans. I feel grateful, because some people of my country, they don't have a mom or a dad. Their parents passed away, and they're only about his age. And I'm quite happy and I'm thankful.
Just a third question. Yeah, and you feel a strong connection with with Australia or Afghanistan?
With both.
There are particular naming ceremonies, there are particular ceremonies of whispering things into the ears, which across Africa and Asia is very common. Sometimes it's about a religious person coming and whispering something particular in your ear so that you might grow into greatness. Sometimes it is about being told your name. I think this idea of whispering is actually extremely intimate and extremely beautiful.
We say adhan in the child's hair. Adhan is to say, for example, when people say adhan before prayer, to call people for prayer. So that's the first thing we do. And once they are discharged from the hospital, and the child is discharged from hospital, then we have party one night. So people, not in Australia that people stay till morning, but over there in my country, people stay till morning and they sing a song, or they play games or play playing cards. And during these games, then the name is chosen for the child. So what they do, everybody write a name, and then they pick up one name, whatever name comes out, so that's going to be the child's name.
Sleeping, crying, feeding, 3 very fundamental biological events that happen, right? Why is this so different? Now, it's different because of how you're parented. It's different because of your parenting expectations of your child. It's also different because of where you're brought up and how you're brought up and what your society, your community expects of you.
From my childhood, I think I will take some relaxation from that side and provide this side, because I think this childhood is very mechanical and it's like very fast, and parents, or you can say any parent, their expectation from the children nowadays is too much. That's what I feel. When I was used to make the little one sleep, before that, like, I remember that my mother, or not actually my father, but my mother was used to sing, Chanda mama dur ke, puए pakaye bur ke, aap khaye thali mein, munne ko de pyali mein. At that time, we were used to call someone from the neighbor. They were used to come and visit us, or we just drop the child in their place. But here you cannot do that. We don't know who is the next door neighbor. Aap khaye thali mein, munne ko de pyali mein, chanda mama dur ke.